What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for yet another Tottenham update today, your third Tottenham update today. How lucky are you guys today? We've got bits and pieces to talk about, not too much, but we're going to start off with Eric Dier, the news that you've not been wanting to hear. After all the good news that's been coming through, there has to be a bit of give or take, I guess, and this is from Charlie Eccleshare and says, Eric Dier is back from injury after a groin operation and will be ready for the start of pre-season. The expectation is that he will stay at Tottenham this summer. And Sammy Mockbell, speaking on Last Word on Spurs podcast, says that Eric Dier wants to stay and fight for his place. He's looking forward to working with Ange Postecoglou. And did I not say this was going to happen 2 days ago on that video?
Well, it doesn't surprise me that Dier wants to stay. I think from his point of view, anywhere else is a step down at this point. He probably feels like the injury he had last season, which he's been complaining about now, hampered him. So maybe he feels like last season wasn't his true self and he can prove himself under Ange. And even though Spurs aren't offering him a new deal right now, he's going to stay and fight for his place. Also, is how much interest is there actually in him as well? You got to remember he's been at Tottenham now. It'll be 10 years next season, not this season. Next, he's been here 9 years. He signed in 14-15. We're going into 23-24. So
get him out before that testimonial, please.
This is his ninth. This will be his 9th season. So he is kind of part of the furniture. You don't want to disrespect him, and I understand that. But for me, everyone knows I feel like he's not good enough for us, especially how we want to play. But if he's gonna, same with Lloris. If Lloris is gonna say I'm staying and fight for my place, I think the club. I'm not saying the club wouldn't sign a keeper, but I think they would keep him. Is what I'm trying to say. And just like with Dier, if he wants to stay and fight, I'm guessing the club aren't going to force him out. They're going to respect his wishes. But for me, I hope we be a bit ruthless, and if there are any offers, we take it. But I'm not surprised that Dier himself wants to stay because he probably doesn't see anywhere better to go right now.
Yeah, look, I get that. But to be honest, with only 1 year left of his contract, it will be only one more year. I don't see us offering him a new contract or anything like that. So I think maybe we're just going to have to put up with Eric Dier for 1 more year. But the good thing about it is that potentially, hopefully, touch wood, please, he's not going to be our first choice next season.
No, surely. If look with the noises coming out of signing defenders, you would hope that he's going to be nowhere near the first team. But to be fair, with his experience, I wouldn't be surprised if at the start of the season, unless the centre backs who we signed really impressed in preseason, I wouldn't be surprised if he's starting on the first game. I hope I'm wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised. But because the defenders we're signing are quite young, and I guess 24 is not so young, but I just want rid of him. I think he's going to be too slow. He gets caught out too much. Maybe the injury was hampering him, but we all know that Dier hasn't been good enough for a long time, even before his injury. So for me, unless you're playing a back three, you can't play Dier in a back four. You can't play him in a back two, a centre back. So it's just going to be a season, I feel, whenever he plays, it's going to be kind of hiding behind the couch kind of thing.
Yeah, most definitely. It's going to be one of those. Every time we see him on the team sheet, we're just going to be dreading what's coming. But look, if it is only 1 more year, it is just a situation of just trying and grin and bear it. Because look, at the end of the day, we're not going to be able to do this whole rebuild in one window. That's why I said on the predictions for the transfer market. And I did predict Eric Dier to be here for the coming season. It looks as though that's going to come to pass. But look, it is what it is at the end of the day, and you can't force someone out the door when there's no offers, unless you just completely rip up that contract. With only 1 year left, is there any point doing that? Would you like to see that happen?
No, I wouldn't rip it up. I think that's a bit disrespectful. Unless he really wants to leave, which he doesn't seem so, and there are no offers, then maybe. But I wouldn't do that. You got to respect play. Look, at the end of the day, if we're saying that players like other players, we want players to be loyal to Spurs, not jump at the first sign of leaving, and we want them to stay and show a bit of loyalty, then some fans have to live when a player like Dier has been loyal, you have to respect that. As much as we don't think he's good enough, I think, in my opinion anyway, you have to respect that he's been here a long time, and you have to show a bit of loyalty back to him as well.
I don't think you'll find one Spurs fan, to be honest, that does think he's good enough anymore, especially in a back four. I fear the worst for him whenever he's going to play in that Ange high line system. Do you think it's a potential that Ange could maybe utilize him in midfield more than in defence next season?
Potentially. He's probably going to be less exposed in the base of that three, in my opinion, than in that centre back. But I don't know if he he moved to centre back because he just wasn't performing in midfield anymore. So I like, and now, yeah, I don't see that. I mean, he could potentially in emergencies. I don't see it being something that he goes to often.
No, I'm not saying starting, but just fill in when needs be, kind of thing. I
Yeah,
think that's going
maybe.
to be his role. That's going to be his role next season. And also, I think you're quite right in what you're saying, because when you're looking at next season, let's say, for argument's sake, we do sign a Tapsoba Romero as the back two, potentially Porro, Emerson right back, or Spence left back. You're looking at Adoji. I mean, where's the leadership in that back line coming from?
Yeah, there's very little. So no, I mean that we've seen anyway. No one's really that vocal and all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dyer begins the season as starting centre back, and then once he makes a few mistakes, he loses his place.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Pedro Porro now. Tom Barkley says that Porro will see his loan from Sporting Lisbon turn permanent for £39 million in the coming days. I believe I read a report saying that Spurs need to make a decision by the end of June whether we want to make this permanent or not. And I'm happy to see that we are going to be doing that.
Yeah, I am happy to see us make it permanent because I do believe he's a good player. However, it is a bit awkward that we're signing him, on the basis of him playing at right wing back, and now we're changing systems, and there's not a natural place for him, which is a bit awkward. And we are outlaying, a significant amount, about 40 million, wasn't it, for Pedro Porro?
39, yeah.
So there is an argument to say maybe we shouldn't, but I believe in the quality of Porro. I believe I believe we can make him into a good right back, or somebody who can fill in further forward on occasion as well. I think he needs to work on his decision making and how he takes care of the ball and things like that, and his defensive ability. If you can do that, I think he can play the right back role. And I think especially in that, in the positions when he's underlapping and getting in the box and but being a threat, obviously we know how good he can be in those situations. And if he can marry that with better on the ball decision making and better defensive ability, then all of a sudden you've got a really good player. We're probably better off going for him rather than just looking for someone new. Probably, but it is a bit of an awkward situation now, considering that we don't play with the three at the back, so it is a bit awkward. But I think it's probably still the right decision to sign him.
I was thinking about this Mickey Van de Ven signing, and what the conversation that we were having earlier today about if we're going to sign two or one, and if we were to sign Mickey Van de Ven, I think it could be a really clever signing, because when you're looking at those inverted fullback roles, I think he could play it quite well on the left-hand side with Porro bombing it on the right. And then on the flip side of that, you could have Emerson on the right and then Adoji bombing it on the left. So I think that's a really good dynamic potentially we could have with those two partnering each other.
Yeah, definitely. He's also played. He's played left back a few times for Wolfsburg as well. So definitely a position that he is accustomed to. That could definitely be something we could see 100%.
And if we don't sign him, do you reckon Davis could do that role?
Yeah, I think Davis. I think so. I think he's obviously quite good on the ball. He's good in possession. I think that he's got the ability on the ball to probably play the more defensive side of that role, not the one bombing on. So I do think he could do it decently. I'm not saying he's going to be brilliant at it. I just think Davis that at this point, he's now 30, and he had an okay season last season. Obviously, he was brilliant under Conte for 6 months. I don't know. I just think I think as much as I think Davis is decent, I think I can't remember. Like he's just not going to be ever what we want. I like Davis. I like him.
Of course, he's never going to be what we want. But when we're talking about not being able to do a full rebuild in one window, I think it's more worth keeping someone like Ben Davis around, especially how light we are at left back with Reguilon and Sessegnon's futures up in the air. I mean, I prefer to keep Davis around then potentially a Sessegnon, Dyer, Davinson Sanchez, Tanganga, all those players. I think Davis should be the last to leave out of them.
That's true. I agree with that completely. I think I'd much rather rely on Davis than any of those players. That's true.
Let's move on. Let's talk about Harry Kane. Tom Allnut says Bayern are confident of landing Harry Kane and his approval to increase their bid to Tottenham. And then there's a bit of a strange one from Matt Law, says that Chelsea have been alerted to the fact that Harry Kane has commissioned the building of a sizable new family home close to Wentworth Gold Club and just 15 miles from the club's common training ground. Tottenham run the risk of Chelsea making a very serious play for Harry Kane if he sees out his contract at the club, and he just happens to have the building. He just happens to be building a house pretty close to their training ground. It's funny, this one, because actually Matt Law was on Matt Hayes' show not long ago saying no chance Harry Kane ever goes to Chelsea.
And I was saying, oh, look, he's building a new house 15 miles from Cobham. So that means that there's a serious chance he can go. I mean, that's what a nonsense story. I've never heard so much rubbish in my life. Like, because he's building a house 15 miles from Cobham, that means there's a chance he could go there. I mean, I think that's quite ridiculous. He's probably 15 miles from the Arsenal training ground as well. I don't know. But it's just really, I just think it's a ridiculous story. I mean, what nonsense reporting. But in terms of the Bayern one, yeah, I mean, the noise is just not going away, is it, about this buying deal? Like, and it is starting to come as well from the English journalists, not from the German side as well, who obviously will have, they would want to force that move and they would want Kane to go to, improve the profile of the German league. They would want him to go there. It seems as though a lot of the journalists on the English side are starting to say that Kane would definitely be up for a move to Bayern Munich and he's welcoming improved bids. It is a bit disheartening if that is true, considering, the good news that we've had with Madison and stuff, and if we get a centre back, and you would hope that he would see that and think maybe something's happening. But as we've said before, I don't really blame him for not seeing that, if because he's seen it before. He saw under Mourinho, Conte, like all this promise and it all fell flat. And how many times can he fall for the same trick before he said he's had enough? So I don't blame him if he has really had enough and he wants out. I just really hope that he does give it one more year. But if Bayern do stump up the cash, which I don't know if they will, but if they do, then it is what it is. You just got to say good luck to him.
Do you think the transfer business that Spurs are doing at the moment is can sway Kane's decision in any way?
I think there's got to be some sort of thinking about it. And obviously, Madison, he knows from England, his time in England, he probably rates him highly as a player as well. I think, of course, he's got to be looking at the transfers and thinking, what's going on here? That definitely has to go into decision making. But at the end of the day, he probably thought last year was a good window, and didn't exactly pan out very well. So I don't blame him, even if it is a good window. He's still thinking, had good windows before, and still nothing's worked. So what's the point? But for sure, 100% that's got to go into his thinking. If he completely doesn't rate any of the players we bring in, then of course he's gonna put more fuel on the fire for him leaving.
Well, we'll have to see how that one plays out. I mean, we heard rumours today about a second Bayern bid that hasn't come to pass just yet, but I guess more will come out on this one tomorrow. Let's talk about Edmund Tapsoba now of Leverkusen. Sammy Mokbel says that Tottenham are focusing on Tapsoba at the moment. Tottenham have tested the waters with Mickey van der Ven, but they are trying to go for Tapsoba and try and secure the deal and get him over the line. And this is followed on by, a Tottenham ITK claiming that Spurs are working very hard on Tapsoba as well.
Yeah, and that's what I like to hear, that we're going really hard for him. I really hope we make him our first choice and that we get him over the line. Again, I repeat, I don't see why we can't sign him and another centre-back as well. I think that should really be the priority, getting two centre-backs, and I don't think one is enough. But I really hope that because I think Tapsoba, if we're really going for a data approach, Tapsoba has better data than Van der Ven. As much as Van der Ven is good, and I think it also has potential, I know he's a couple of years younger, Tapsoba at the moment is much the better player. And he would be such a big asset, and he would improve our defense so much. I think Van der Ven as well probably would have to bed in a bit more than Tapsoba as well. So I really hope that even if it's a bit extra money, we do it. But we've already shown this window that we are more than willing to go with a bit of a cheaper option if we feel necessary, and maybe that could come to pass in this deal.
But the money that they're talking about for Tapsoba is really not that much. You're talking about what, like 30, 40 million for someone of that
Yeah, there's a
quality.
few reports, but nothing. I've never really heard. We haven't really heard a concrete figure from anyone. So some people are saying 39 million pounds plus add-ons. Some people are saying 30 million. So it's hard to know what's true.
Yeah, again, I'm sure a lot more will be coming out on this deal tomorrow, and I think Spurs seem to be doing things at a fast pace at the moment. So I do think that something is going to happen sooner rather than later with a central defender, whether it be Tapsoba, Mickey van der Ven, Tosin, or someone else that hasn't been named. I do think something is going to happen fairly quickly, to be honest. But let's finish off talking about midfield options. And Sammy Mockbell again says that Tottenham are potentially looking for another central midfielder in addition to James Maddison, more in maybe a number 6 mold.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense because I think we have players who can do the number 6 role, but I don't think we have players who are natural number 6s, like in terms of their passing ability. I think Bentancur, Basuma, maybe even Højbjerg, Skip, Sarr, they could all probably do a job there. But in terms of like putting them there as like a player whose real strength is their passing ability and vision and being able to dictate play, I wouldn't say any of those players, it's their real strength. And so maybe
Ruben Neves just go out to a Saudi, man.
Yeah, he would be perfect. Someone like him, like someone of that kind of mold. Maybe a Kakare. Maybe we can convince Verratti to come. Yeah, we'll see.
He's also going to Saudi, isn't he?
There's all these rumors, isn't there? I do think I would like a new number. I would like a new number 6 in there, 100%. But whether I wouldn't call it a priority. I would like it, but if we go into next season with just Basuma, Bentancur, and the rest, I think we can do next season just fine with them, and then maybe look to prioritize. I'd rather get a winger in first and centre backs and prioritize that than prioritize number 6. But if Ange deems it necessary, then that's fine.
Yeah, you do imagine like if we do go in with what we have at the moment, we start the season with Basuma as number 6, and then a bit further forward you've got probably Højbjerg alongside Maddison. It's not the worst midfield trio in the world, is it?
It's not bad. Just a quick one, just to add some context to some Maddison news. The Daily Mail, the northern correspondent for the Daily Mail, Jack, I don't know how you spell that, pronounce that. The northern correspondent, Jack Gohan, I think, Gohan, whatever. He's claiming that Man City were going to go in for James Maddison this summer, but Spurs acted too quickly. That's what he's claiming from the Daily Mail. So that's interesting.
I don't really buy that, to be honest, because it's been known about Spurs going for James Maddison for a while now, for at least the last couple of weeks, and Man City could have easily gone in and just put in a 40, 50 million bid.
Maybe they could have seen him as the long-term successor to De Bruyne.
You never know, but I don't really buy that, to be honest. I think if City were actually wanted him, they would have gone and got him.
Maybe they were too busy going for Rice and Kovacic.
Even Rice, like they put in one bid and they were just like, all right, allow
that. Maybe they weren't that serious. I don't know. But that's what they're claiming. Well, Bernardo Silva might be leaving as well. I mean, it does kind of make sense if Bernardo, Gundogan all leave. Maybe they could have done with someone like Maddison.
Yeah. Well, look, he's ours now, and I can't wait to see him.
Come on, we stole him off City. That's what we're going for.
Cool. But that is your Tottenham update for today. We'll see you all tomorrow. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.